Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name's Rachel and I am knitting. Not right now, but most of the time, and I have been knitting, so I'm going to tell you all about it. And I guess you wonder where I've been. The answer is in my house, disassociating because I was overstimulated and overwhelmed with all of the things I had to do. It's tale as old as time that I'm overwhelmed, but whatever. Last week I sat down to film the podcast and I just needed a minute. I needed to take a minute, decompress, gather my thoughts, gather my feelings. I had just come back from Ireland, an amazing trip, amazing experience, but I was tired. I was really tired. But now, a week later, I have rebuilt my battery, my social battery to talk to you. Which is really just talking to myself. It's just talking to a camera. Anyway, whatever. Okay, hi, welcome back to the podcast. Sorry that I've been away, but also I'm not sorry. I'm a firm believer that I don't think people should have to apologize for taking a posting hiatus on whatever fill-in-the-blank social media platform that is applicable. But whatever, sorry all the same. Here I am. Episode 31 of the podcast. Shall we get into it? So there's a lot to go over in this podcast because it covers quite a span of time. Normally, a podcast episode covers a week of time because typically they're weekly. This one is covering multiple weeks. This episode is going to cover my knitting progress from September 30th through yesterday, October 27th. So almost a full month. That's disgusting, but it is what it is. So I have a lot of things to update you on. Let's just get into it. Project updates is where we'll start, as we always do, and I have 8 projects to update you on this week. The first is my field day cardigan, here it is. I packed this field day cardigan to bring with me on the Irish knitting tour, thinking that I would make just leaps and bounds of progress on this project. And, who could have guessed I didn't work a single stitch, not a single second on this project. But I think that I have progress from the last time I showed it to you all the same. Actually, I really have no earthly idea because that was about 6 business years ago. But anyway, here's the back panel on the field day cardigan. Wow. Surely this is further along than the last time I showed you because, this is the first that I'm seeing this in like three and a half weeks. And I'm just impressed by myself. So look at me go. I am done with the increases for the back panel. Past Rachel finished that at some undetermined amount of time in the past. And I'm just knitting straight down on this back panel. This is going to be for my husband, DJ. I'm a little nervous, though, about this now that I think about it because I have another project on my needles in DK weight that I've totally revamped my knitting practice in. Like, my gauge is extremely different to what it normally is, I think. So, will my fingers remember how to make this gauge with this DK weight yarn? I don't know. We'll see. Maybe I'll have to start it over, but that's okay because I don't know. It's hard to come back to a project that you haven't looked at in a while. This is only like 3 weeks that I haven't looked at it. I have some projects that I haven't looked at in months. So it's all relative. But anyway, here's the field day cardigan. I'm knitting this up in Cesium Yarn Merino DK in their carpet colorway, which is part of the Cabin collection, a collaborative collection I did with them last year. I love this colorway. I love it so, so much. It means a lot to me. Even though it's not purple, it means a whole lot to me. Also in this bag, by the way, as an aside, this is a little project bag that I appropriately packed for Ireland. I also packed a skein of Clockwork Fiber Co. Elusive Mermaid on the analog DK base, thinking maybe I'll cast on the Winter's Beach cardigan. I didn't. Spoiler alert. But there's the happenings of this project bag. Update on the field day cardigan. Working on the back panel. I'll let you know if I end up starting it over or picking it back up. time will tell. The second project that I have to update you on is a project that I brought with the intention to work on in Ireland as well, and I actually did work on it in Ireland. Not as much as I thought. I didn't knit as much this year. I was like in very much content making mode and like hostess mode, so I wasn't knitting as much, which was a surprise to me, but it was fine. But here's the Dewdrops Cowl that I brought with me. This is in Kimber's Cozy Creations in the colorway Grape Jelly. It's this really nice, vibrant, deep purple. So this is my own design, which is now available on Ravelry. I don't think that I've made a YouTube video since it's become available, so surprise! The Dewdrops Cowl and the Dewdrops headband are both available on Ravelry. And here's the progress that I made. Most of this is Ireland progress, but I have been working on this cowl here and there since I've gotten home. I'm planning to make this longer than the pattern is written for, just to see how I like a cowl that has more surface area. So I'd say according to the pattern I'm about halfway done, but I'm going to try and use most of this skein. The pattern doesn't call for like a full skein of DK weight. There's only a few grams left over if you knit this to pattern, but I'm gonna try and use all of this up. And this might be a gift knit, I'm not sure. I already have 2 Dewdrops cowls, so I don't really need 3 cowls, but both of my other Dewdrops cowls are light purple, so I might need a dark purple, you know, just to round out my wardrobe, so I'll keep thinking about that. But there's my progress on project number 2, the Dewdrops cowl, designed by me, yours truly. Okay, the third project that I have to show you is a little bit of, I don't know. It's a non-project, but let me just explain. Okay, so this is yarn that I made myself from a braid of Superfine Shetland wool that I purchased when I visited the Shetland Islands this summer. The yarn leaves much to be desired. It was my first time chain plying, so it's a little ropey in certain areas, but as part of my collaboration terms with Kromsky, who gifted me a spinning wheel, I needed to produce 2 reels for them, or 1 to 2 reels, but I did produce 2 for them, of the spinning process and then knitting with the yarn produced from spinning. So in order to make that content, I cast on a hat. I was following the pattern for 2x2, which is a worsted weight ribbed hat, 2x2 ribbing. And I was working on this before I left for Ireland, but I lost yarn chicken, and the hat was basically going to be a baby hat. And while that was super, super adorable, it's not really what I wanted, because I want this yarn to be something that I can use and I can wear. So I decided to frog it. I also took this with me to Ireland thinking I'll knit it up. I didn't knit it up. But anyway, there's a project progress update on a project that's no longer in existence because I frogged that little hat I made. I'm thinking that I'll make a tiny little scarf, or maybe a Glenties cowl, which is a pattern that we worked with on the Irish knitting tour, and that I actually have a project to show you, which I need to track down. It's somewhere in this mess of a craft room. Things are really messy in here right now just because I came home, I thought, oh, the craft room will be so easy breezy beautiful because all of the goodie bag stuff is out of my house. I'll have so much room. Well, guess what? I have so many treasures aside from the goodie bag stuff, so I need to clean up this room, but it's just too overwhelming right now. But anyway, here's the update. A project that I sort of made, but then is no longer. The next thing to update you on is that Glenties cowl. So let me see if I can find it. Here it is. I am really proud of this finished object because I made it correctly. This is the pattern that Lisa Sisk teaches us in the Mobius knitting workshop on the Irish knitting tour, or at least that's what we've had the last 2 years. The first year I made this version, which I mean, it's a functional cowl. Let's try not hit the mic. It's a functional cowl, but the circumference is double what the pattern calls for. This is what the pattern calls for, this circumference. So I made it with the correct stitch count this year, according to pattern. Lisa let me pick out this beautiful purple yarn. This is soft Donegal, which I learned is 100% merino, which is not an Irish wool, but it's milled and spun in Ireland, at least in this case, the soft Donegal. So that was a fun fact to learn. But I finished this on the trip. I started it during the workshop day and I finished it a few days later. I was not the first to finish it on the trip. In fact, I think I was the fourth or maybe the fifth person to finish it. So some people were going through these projects at lightning fast rates, but I started and finished mine and I was able to, I don't know, feel proud of myself. I didn't wear it on the trip because I was wearing the Dewdrops cowls that I brought mostly, but this is a really, really fun project. It's a cool shape. There's basically a twist in it that makes it so you have this little overlap function, or not function, feature. Like, I don't know, it looks really cool. Really visually interesting. So there's my Glenties cowl. This is a free pattern on Ravelry, by the way. So if you are interested in making one of these, check out the pattern on Ravelry. So there's my next project update for you. And the second, or not the second, what am I saying? We're on like the fifth project at this point. The fifth project, but I guess the second project that I started in Ireland that I've since finished are these fingerless mittens or fingerless gloves. These are the Peterswell mitts designed by Carol Feller, and these are the mitts that we worked on during the Carol Feller workshop. But I shouldn't say these are the only things people worked on, because there's actually 2 patterns that Carol provides for the cable workshop that she teaches, or at least that's been the case the last 2 years in the Irish Knitting Tour. I'm not sure how future tours might change, but for these last 2 years, we've had the immense pleasure of Lisa Sisk workshops and Carol Feller workshops. And now this year I have Peterswell mitts. I think, buckle up, I think these are very yonic. And maybe that's part of why I think they're so beautiful. But they are part of a Ravelry bundle that I periodically add patterns to that I like to call Yonicorns. So sorry, please don't unsubscribe. You know, you get what you get here on this channel and whatever. But I finished these. These are in a yarn called Nua Worsted, which is Carol Feller's brand of yarn. And it's I want to say it's a merino yak linen base, but let me just look it up to make sure I'm not giving you fake information. Okay, so Nua Worsted is 60% merino, 20% yak, 20% linen, and 100% ewe. Okay, that's what it says on the website. So you can see on these mitts, there's like kind of, not strawy bits, but this white stuff here, that is linen. So these white bits that look like they aren't dyed, that's because plant fibers take dye differently than animal fibers. So you can see the linen within the fabric that this yarn's created. It's just really nice. And it feels really soft, but also really substantial, if that makes sense. It just feels like a solid fabric. I think I just blew a piece of linen in my mouth. But it feels like a solid fabric. I really like how these feel. I like the color. This color is called Cerebellum of Nua Worsted. And you can find the Peterswell mitts pattern on Ravelry. Carol Feller has a bunch of different designs available on Ravelry that you can peruse. But I finished these. I finished the first mitten during the workshop, which was in the most beautiful room, by the way. We had the view of the lake and the castle ruins at the Lake Hotel while Carol was teaching us about cables and chart reading and different history of Irish yarn and Irish milling. So that was cool. And then I finished the second mitt on Saturday while we were watching football. So now I have a complete set of mitts. That feels good. I'm happy about that. And let's move on now to the next project to update you on. This yarn that I'm about to show you is a color that hasn't been revealed yet, so I guess I'm going to switch to black and white. So boom, now it's black and white. Great. Okay, so I am working on the Rainy Day Tea by Sari Nordland, and I'm realizing now that you watching this in black and white may be prohibitive to you seeing the pattern of this this garment, because this yarn is extremely dark, but the Rainy Day Tea is a really nice understated cable pattern. There's just cables on all 4 raglan seams. So to help you visualize, basically this is a raglan shirt, pullover, sweater, however you want to call it, and there is a cable detail going diagonally down each shoulder on the front and on the back. So there's 4 cables, the rest is stockinette. So it's really nice, lets the cables really shine because that's kind of the only textural detail on this garment. The yarn that I'm using is Gifted Yarn from Treehouse Knits, and it's part of the Stick Season collection that she has, or Season of the Stitch. Let me fact check myself again. Let's see. So Treehouse Knits, basically these colors were at Rhinebeck, but if you weren't at Rhinebeck, they're still a secret. So for an upcoming collection called Season of the Stitch. Yeah, so basically this is a collection that's kind of like a love letter to Noah Kahan, which is cool. I don't keep up with current music enough to be like, I love Noah Kahan. Like, I've heard a few of his songs and I thought they're great. Like, I'll listen to them 100 times on repeat, but I don't know what they're called, or I don't know like the lineup of his albums or anything. But anyway, this collection is all about Noah Kahan, and this colorway is part of that collection. So keep an eye out for this mysterious colorway. But while I'm still talking about the Rainy Day Tea, I should tell you about my gauge. My gauge is a mess. I decided for this garment that I was really going to be intentional about keeping my gauge tight and keeping it cohesive and structured. So I've really been loading my stitches onto the tip of my needle. I've been forming the stitches on the needle tip. I've not like gone to the temptation to be loosey-goosey as I normally am. I'm typically a loose knitter, but my gauge is extremely tight on this garment. No, I didn't gauge swatch because I've been hurt too many times and I feel like my gauge would have changed anyway. So I just decided I would cast this on and start knitting. And the benefit of knitting a top-down raglan is you can try on as you go to ensure the fit is what you want, and if it's not big enough yet, just keep adding raglan increases. So that's what I did. Basically, according to the pattern, I should have been ready to split for sleeves, like up here, and I'm down here. So my gauge is much tighter than the pattern calls for, but that's okay. I'm trying on as I go, and I think I'll be able to split for sleeves soon. I think the circumference is good. It's where I want it, but because of my tighter gauge, I'm a little worried about yarn chicken. Lauren sent me 4 skeins, and I'm about a quarter of the way through the second skein. So my plan is to, once I split for sleeves, knit maybe an inch or so, and then knit the sleeves, pick up the collar, and knit the collar. So then I can just knit the body without being afraid that I'm going to run out of yarn, because I'll just have the body left at that point, and I can just knit until I run out of road, basically. So there's the update on my rainy day tee. It's a nice, easy to follow pattern. I will say one hiccup that I've encountered, and I'm sure I'll go more in depth about this when I do the eventual FO diary installment of the rainy day tee, assuming I finish this. I don't see why I wouldn't. When you're picking up the collar, the pickup instructions, the number of stitches you're to pick up, do not correspond to the number of cast on stitches. So basically that makes like kind of ugly gaps, in my opinion, between like the stitches you do pick up and the spaces where you don't pick up a stitch. So I did pick up the collar and I knit a few rows, and I didn't like how it looked, so I took it out. So my plan is, at some future point in time, to pick up the collar stitches, pick up every stitch as the cast on corresponds to, and then I'll decrease on the first row afterwards. That way it won't leave any weird gaps in the fabric from not picking up a stitch in a certain area, or at least I'm hoping so. But there's the update on my rainy day tee, and now let's come back to being fully in Technicolor. Boom, we're in color again. Yay, hello, welcome back to 2024, where color TV is back on the menu. Okay, so next we have two more projects. One that I finished, you may remember, the Oliver's hat. I was working on the Oliver's hat for my husband in Miami colors, and I was using my Shetland knitting belt and my long double pointed needles that I got in Shetland. And let me tell you, learning a new technique of knitting is difficult. It's not a walk in the park, but it's very rewarding. So let me show you how this hat looks. I'll tell you also, this hat, I think it looks kind of big on DJ. I need to have him try it on again. But it works on me, I think, because my hair is padding out that extra space. But I think certainly it's looser than intended to be. The pattern is the Oliver's hat, which you can find on Ravelry. I purchased a paper version at Jameson and Smith Wool Brokers on the Shetland Islands in Lerwick. Sorry about my pronunciations. People say that I say it wrong that way, and then I changed it and it was wrong. Anyway, whatever. Trying my best with pronunciation. Lerwick. I'm sorry. So anyway, this is done. I'm really proud of myself. I want to keep knitting with my Shetland knitting belt. I want to keep practicing it. I'm not sure if I'm ready to start with like a garment after this. I think I want to make a few more hats just to keep practicing with my tension. I don't think the tension is terrible, but if you look at the inside, you can see that some rows, the floats are carried really well. The tension is really good. But then others, like up here where I start the crown decreases, it gets kind of messy. So I just want to keep building proficiency in that before I move on to a full garment. I have yarn and a pattern for like a vest, a pullover vest tank kind of thing. I also have the Oregon cardigan kit from Virtual Yarns, which I've thought about whether or not I should make on the double pointed needles and the knitting belt. I haven't quite decided yet what I want to do with that. If I want to do it on my Chiagu circulars like I have tried in the past and is my normal knitting preference, or if I want to really lean into the Shetland style knitting for that garment as well. I'm not sure, but I do know that I want to make at least one more hat before I try to make a garment on the knitting belt. Anyway, the next and final project to update you on is not a knitting project. It's kind of a fun, different thing, and woo, it's a wreath. when we went to Cushendale Woolen Mills on the Irish knitting tour, it was nuts. It was nuts. They were having some connection issues, so like the internet wasn't working, so checkout took a long time, and I was trying to make sure everyone was taken care of and like able to shop, so I was in and out. Like I picked some stuff and I bought it, and then I like got out of the way. So I wanted to get more of these, some for my mom and sisters, but it just like, it got really hectic and frenzied. But I did come away with one wreath kit. Basically, they had these balls of selvage edges, selvage ribbon, that you can see is just like wound up in a ball. They had all sorts of different colors. So of course I saw this one that was like purple with some pink in it, and I grabbed it. And then it's hard to tell now that I've added all the pieces of ribbon, but basically it also came with this wire wreath form that has two rounds of wire and instructions on how to create your wreath. And they had one of these hanging in the door at Cushendale, so I could kind of get a visual of what it would look like. I've made this to the instruction specifications, where there are eight knots on each inner section. There's 4 sections on each ring, and then 15 knots on each outer section. And I still have quite a bit of selvage left, so I'm thinking that I'll add a little bit more. But I'm also thinking it would be really cool to add some of the art yarn that I made from Liz Spillane, either from my art yarn last year or my art yarn that I made this year. But the art yarn that I made this year sheds quite a bit because one of the strings is like a feathery kind of yarn, so it just sheds everywhere. So I'm not sure if I'll choose that, but I'm really excited about this. This is going to hang up in my craft room somewhere. I'm thinking maybe either on the door of the craft room closet or maybe on the back of the door to the room itself. I want to see it as much as possible. I don't know if there's a spot on my wall that I could have it so it's part of my backdrop. Probably not. I don't know. It's kind of already got a lot of cool things back there, not a lot of space. But I really, really like this. I think it's so fun. And they have this on the website. It was only 15 euros because this is basically scrap fabric. So what a cool idea that they're turning scraps into something useful and profitable, hopefully, for them. But I really like my little wreath, so I'm excited to finish this up. Probably next week I'll have it done. Whatever I'm going to add, I will have added, hopefully, and I'll show you how it turns out. So with that, those are all 8 projects that I have to show you. So let's move on to the next section. I'm getting back in the swing of it. What do we do next? We do acquisitions. Yeah. Well, we would also do spin diary, but I haven't been spinning because haven't been home, and it's been too messy in here to spin. But I am itching to spin, actually. I've been thinking about how excited I am to spin, and I just haven't decided what braid of fiber I would spin next. I'm not sure. I have some goodies to choose from. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get into acquisitions. The first thing is a package that I came home to after Ireland, and it was so perfect because these 3 skeins are part of the Kimber's Cozy Creations Ireland Memories collection. So this is a collection that Leslie did in collaboration with Kimber of Kimber's Cozy Creations, inspired by some of Leslie's memories from the first Irish knitting tour. And as an affiliate with Kimber's Cozy Creations, I got some yarn myself, so I was able to pick 3 skeins from the collection. I picked Kenmare, which is this really fun self-striping colorway based on the cute little town of Kenmare in Ireland. And then I also got a skein of Montanati, which is inspired by this flower wall at the Hotel Montanati, which we stayed at the first year for the Irish Knitting Tour. And of course I chose this one because I think this skein is so fuchsia flower coated. The like red magenta with the purple, totally a fuchsia flower. And then I also got this skein called a Dare, which is a multicolored variegated skein that has all of these colors of the rainbow: blue, green, orange, pink, purple. So pretty. I think that I'll crank all of these. I am rich with single fingering weight skeins, and I just need to turn them into something. I need to make them into something. So I think maybe in November I'm going to get back into the groove of using my sock machine. We'll see. But I think that these all three would make some really nice socks. So I came home to those from Ireland. Another acquisition I came home to was a skein of green yarn from the Woolly Thistle of Jameson and Smith, because if you remember, I ran out of green right before or right after I started the crown decreases. In fact, you can kind of see the difference in dye lots between these greens. Basically up to about here, I had the first skein of green, and then from here up was a new dye lot. You can kind of tell. But that was an acquisition I came home to. And then, of course, the Treehouse Knits yarn that I'm knitting the rainy day tee in, which I won't show you because, you know, you'll see it on Instagram when it's revealed. And then, of course, I have lots of Ireland goodies that I came home with. I won't show them all to you now just because I plan to do a recap of the Irish Knitting Tour, which I haven't started yet because, again, there's just like so much to do, so little time. But the Ireland recap videos will be coming. In the meantime, if you want to get a little bit of insight into what the tour was like this year, you can head over to Evan's YouTube channel, Evan Knits Things, and also Leslie's YouTube channel, Knit California. Both of them have some recap videos already uploaded. Meanwhile, I'm taking my sweet time. I'm so sorry, but I will get to it. Anyway, some acquisitions that I got in Ireland. I got these really cute buttons from Cushendale. These are ceramic buttons. I got one set of purple and one set of this nice little sage green. Sage, yeah, I wouldn't say olive, more sage. I don't really know my greens actually, but I got a green set, I got a purple set, I got the wreath kit that I showed you. What else do I have in reach that you just simply must see? Oh, we went to the Nicholas Moss pottery factory in Kilkenny, and oh my gosh, this was so amazing. I told myself last year that I was going to get one fuchsia pottery piece a year with the Irish Knitting Tours. This year I got two. I just couldn't help myself. I'm sorry. First I got this vase, which is perfect because, well, first of all, it's fuchsia, but it's perfect for my double pointed knitting needles from Shetland. These I had in like a plastic drawer, like a plastic drawer tower, and they were just a little bit too long to fit comfortably in there. Like that's the drawer where I have my Chiagu sets and my other DPNs and my crochet hooks and stuff, and these just didn't fit comfortably in that drawer, so happy to have a cute little vase for them. It feels very official. And then I got these clear little hair elastics so I could keep each DPN set together. And through the process of putting them in the hair elastics, I learned that I definitely prefer Addie for these long double pointed knitting needles because Addie has it like imprinted on the needles what size they are, whereas this other brand, I don't remember what this other brand is, but they don't have any information. So to find the needle size, I'll need to put each of these through a needle gauge just to confirm they're the right size. Anyway, there's my fuchsia vase. And then the second thing I got was this fuchsia creamer jug, which was in the second section. And I'm pretty sure this little spot that doesn't have glaze on it is the reason. It was just €1 off, so it wasn't like, you know, saving a huge amount of money, but it was just so cute. I had to have it. I think that I'm going to use this. I didn't notice this before. It's a cute one right on the front. I think I'm going to use this as like my little bowl for very, very special stitch markers, so I can have, I don't know, fun picking the stitch marker to use on whatever project. But now I have 3 Nicholas Moss fuchsia pottery pieces from my trips to Ireland. So that's very, very special, and I'm just so grateful to have these. So that's the acquisitions. What else to tell you? Nothing for acquisitions. Even though I have a lot more acquisitions, I just can't tell you any more of them right now because got to get on with the day. So keep an eye out for the Ireland recap vlog. I'm hoping to be able to work on it this week and upload it hopefully Saturday, if not definitely next week, to start the installment series taking you through this year's trip. It was an amazing trip, amazing people, made some really, really good memories, and I'm just so grateful for the opportunity, which is only there because of your support, so I want to thank you also. Which leads me, I suppose, then to my announcements section of the podcast. If you have learned about the Ireland knitting tour and you have felt so sad because you didn't join us and you wish that you were there with us this year, if you were watching on Instagram and following along and you thought, man, would that it were me. It can be you, because signups for the second Scotland knitting tour are now open. There was so much interest for our first Scotland knitting tour, which is going to take place in May of 2025. So much interest that we decided to add a second Scotland knitting tour. So if you'd like to join me on the trip of a lifetime, we're meeting in Edinburgh on May 27th, and then we will be traveling through the Scottish Highlands together. So if you're tired of missing out and you're ready to join us on a knitting tour, we would absolutely love to have you join us in Edinburgh. So head to the link in the video description to get all the info on the itinerary, pricing, and other relevant details you may be curious about. Of course, let me know if you have any questions. Here to help, happy to help, and hope to see you in Scotland. So that's it for the announcements. What else did I have to say? A big fat nothing, I'm pretty sure. So I'll just leave it here. Thanks for watching and hanging in there as I get back in the groove of making a podcast. As I mentioned at the beginning, it's basically been a month. That's a really long time. So I'm sure there were some hiccups this episode, but whatever. Life goes on. The world keeps spinning, etc. Okay, that's it. So pretty sure that's all for now. Thanks so much for watching. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel if you don't already, and hit that notification bell to be notified of my next upload. Last but not least, head over to Instagram and follow me at Rachel is Knitting if you don't already. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.